All
Okay,
right, we're back. Can you hear me?
I can. My bad.
Okay. So where were we? We were talking about Cypress Hill. Can you? I couldn't hear you. What's going on?
Please continue.
All right. So Cypress Hill um, had this opening act that yelled out, the word "fag" at a concert in the Bill Graham Civic.
Right.
And we came to the station. There were all kind of complaints that came in because the station at the time was one of the sponsors of the show, and so our bosses at the time said basically Cypress Hill is going to be banned. We're pulling them from our playlist. They're going to have to write a letter of apology. Cypress Hill was like, we didn't do it. People that were at the station at the concert said they didn't do it. It
Right.
was an opening act, and they came back and said, well, they chose the opening act, so it's on them, right? And it was almost a year. It was a full year before they were put back on the air, right? And so that taught me a couple of things. One, if you're in a position of visibility and influence, you are your brother's keeper,
Mm-hmm.
or your sister's keeper. So, and two, you're going to catch the heat, right?
Yeah.
Nobody said the
Yeah.
opening act. Nobody remembers who the opening act was.
Yeah.
All they remember is like, I was at this Cypress Hill show in San Francisco, and they got on stage. It goes from somebody got on stage to they got on stage and started yelling, epithets at the gay community.
Right.
And the point is that perception becomes reality. And even after you explained it, people get locked in, and it's like, don't matter. They're bad for business. So to go back to what we were talking about, you may be on the tour. You didn't do shit.
Right.
You didn't do nothing. You didn't even perform yet.
Right.
But we know Lyrics Born.
Mm-hmm.
We know that name. I don't know who else, man. How's that concert? Lyrics Born concert? Oh, man, they were shooting, 15 people got stomped. And it'd be like, I didn't even perform. I wasn't even in the building, but it becomes you.
Right.
And as a result, everything connected to you suffers.
Right.
And this is what's happened with the police. So the police become, the face of the community.
Yeah.
In many ways. That's why they're Oakland's finest or New York's finest or Portland's finest. They become the face that interacts with the public. And to the degree that they do things that then get a response, everything else centers around that. So broken windows in Oakland.
Yeah.
Then people go, I don't know if I want to go there. They're breaking windows.
Right.
And nobody's really talking about, well, this is why. They just go, they break windows in Oakland and we don't want to go.
Because you have to think, right? You have to think that within these departments, right, there is a faction of officers who are like, this motherfucker is out here kicking people's asses. He is making my job harder. You know what I mean? If this shit turns into a protest or if this shit turns into a riot because of what this motherfucker did, he is putting me in the line of fire. He is putting me in danger. He is, potentially putting me in a position where I can't come home to my family. You know what I mean? So that, but they have no way. We as the general public have no way to activate those sentiments from within. We have no way to hold, like you said, there has to be some sort of political, economic, some sort of punitive price to pay for these officers and departments that are just out of pocket. There's just got to be some, and so what is, again, I'm going to pose this question one more time as we move forward, because we have to have a solution here. This has been going on for centuries.
So here are some of the solutions that people have been putting forth.
Right.
Organizations. First, start defunding them.
Okay.
Right.
I've heard that.
So so in many cities, they get 50% of the budget. Let's start. Maybe you get 40 now instead of 50.
Right.
So you start doing that. Now you have to change these laws, but you can't do it city by city. You have to do it statewide.
Let me ask you this though, before in your estimation, what does defunding accomplish? What does defunding accomplish, and how?
So what you're doing is you're taking that money and you're redirecting it into other services. So let's say, for example, you have police that are called to respond to somebody who's mentally challenged, like Stephen Taylor. That was
Right.
the guy in the Walmart, right, who
Right.
got shot and killed, right? Instead of calling you, we're going to call Lyrics Barnes, because you have a health clinic and you all know how to deal with stuff. So we'll put money into your organization because you can deal with those who are mentally challenged instead of sending the police.
Right.
Instead of having them be in schools, let's give some more counselors and people that can deal with folks who have, challenges at home versus somebody who's there with the punitive thing. So you're redirecting money and you're putting it into other resources
Right.
that can fill the void versus somebody who, up to this point, proves that their expertise is only with sticks and guns versus having finesse and the ability to really be multifaceted in their approach
Right.
towards people who have problems. Right now, we call the police for everything. Cats in the tree, you call the police.
Right.
Wellness check. Breonna Taylor, whose birthday it is. No, not Breonna Taylor. Atiana Jefferson is a woman that was shot and killed. I'm going to remember the city in a minute. Her door was open. It was a hot night in Dallas, Fort Worth. So she was in Dallas, had a door open, was sitting there with headphones on with her nephew playing a video game. Neighbor looks, said, hey, her door's open. Nobody hears me. Let me just call and do a wellness check. In my mind, a wellness check means you knock on the door, you check around, see if somebody's home. They come over, sneak into her yard. She doesn't know what's going on. She takes headphones off, hears somebody, pulls out her gun, which everybody has in Texas. And as she goes to the window to see what's happening, officer shoots her, kills her. This is over a goddamn wellness check, right? To see if, the neighbor felt bad. He just thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't think it was going to be this sort of reaction. Nobody went to jail. And then a month later, her heartbroken father dies from a heart attack, and then her mom dies, right? So the whole family is just collapsed. And here was a person who was a pre-med student, sweetest person in the world. And people looked at it and said, man, we need money just to go elsewhere. Or, it's just too much resources, too much power, and the results are deadly.
Well, what I hear you're saying is that, and what I've heard a lot of people say is like the police are not the Swiss Army knife that are going to be able to solve every situation, right?
No, absolutely not.
Not the end all be all solution. They're not even the appropriate call to begin with for situations like this. So what you're saying is defunding the police department in that regard and allocating that money elsewhere so that the right call can be made in these situations. Okay, so I hear you saying defunding. What else?
So Bernie, people have been saying this for a long time. Bernie Sanders, at least in his last campaign, I don't know if he did it as much this campaign, seemed to be on the same page in terms of if there's a shooting, you have an independent district attorney deal with that. You can't have the current district attorneys deal with that because their relationship is symbiotic. They need each other. Right. If they, you need the police to bring in an airtight case. If you're prosecuting that body, maybe all your cases aren't airtight and vice versa. So, you know what? Let's have somebody else come in. Okay. So y'all can have the cozy relationship that you need. But and the way that we looked at it is like, let's just have a special prosecutor for all government employees. So this way, they don't have no ties. So if you're the mayor and we think you're corrupt, then that district attorney deals with you. If you're the city council, they'll deal with you. If you're the police, they'll deal with you. But they don't have what's the word? They don't have a horse in the race. Right. So we can deal with that. So that's the other thing. Then you have to have punitive measures. So if you have somebody like this guy Chavin, who had 18 complaints against him,
Right.
you know, if me or you, you know, if we're working, we have 18 complaints, we don't have a job.
That's right.
You know, you know, after the second or third,
Right.
you don't have a job.
Well,
and if you're problematic, you will be, you know, you'll be ostracized from the industry you're in.
yes. Let's talk about that for a second. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because just on a very basic level, it ain't too many jobs that's going to keep you around, man, if you got all these complaints against you.
Yeah.
From the people that you're supposed to be serving. You know, I mean, let's put it this way. You know, me as a rapper, you know, me as an artist, and I'm self-employed, right?
Right.
If I got 20, 30 people coming at me, you know, making complaints to clubs, making complaints to my management, making complaints to my label, making complaints to my agent, making complaints to promoters. Hey, man, this dude ain't doing his job correctly. We feel abused. We feel mistreated. You know, we feel like he's not carrying out his duty as an artist in the way that he said he was, or that we expect, or in a way that I'm paying for. I'm out of a job, bro.
Yeah.
Bro. Whether I work for somebody or not, it's gonna affect me. It's gonna affect my livelihood. It's gonna affect my power.
Right. Same here as a DJ. You know, I mean, I DJ a lot of gigs.
Right.
You know, okay, hey, look, one bad gig, if it's a big enough gig, can tank you. So sure, you know, I showed up at your wedding to do your gig.
Right.
And I didn't have your theme song. I didn't have the first dance, and my speakers fell off.
Right.
You know, it was a bad night. You know, ain't no bad night on your perfect day. You know, so you know, I might that kid, you know, you got to be perfect, just like an airplane pilot. I think somebody said you can't have an airplane pilot. I had a bad day, so the plane crashed. Fuck no.
Right.
You got to be perfect every time, and I think with these cops, you have to have strategies and mechanisms so that when you deal with us,
yes,
we don't walk away with you know, somebody being killed to the tune of, you know, I think it's some astronomical number, 3,000 or 4,000 a year, something like that. That's some crazy number that should not be happening.
And I think, you know, not to backtrack, but it really shows the holes and the deficiencies in the system when an individual like that, who has all these complaints on record, can continue to work. You know, I think you also, it also speaks to, you know, where there needs to be improvement and reform. Certain guys, men and women, probably should not be hired if they have the proclivity for this kind of behavior.
Absolutely.
So
you got to do a different type of testing,
right?
Psychological testing,
right?
You know, look, as a journalist, I've been in situations, even the last few nights, you know, where it can get to you after a while. You have to have ways in which you can detach and unwind and all that, because, you know, and I was talking to somebody else. I was talking to another reporter earlier, and that reporter just broke down covering this, because you take on the emotions of everybody. You're reading all the details that most people don't. In my case, I was sitting on information, so I knew some stuff about this case that I couldn't say anything about, because you know what I mean, just things that you just like, oh man. So you have all that angst and anxiety, especially if you care about the community that you're covering. So you have those things, and in the middle of it all, I have to perform in terms of, hey, man, you got to get this show done, right? And you just finished covering this, and you got an hour to get this done. So I got to write it out. I got to produce it the way you would direct it, because I'm laying out the tracks and all that. We got to be on point and get it in there under pressure. Right. If you're a doctor, you know, you had a bad night, your wife just left you, your kids is messing up, but you're getting ready to give me heart surgery. Ain't no... You know, I had a bad night. You got to be laser focused.
Right.
You performing.
Yes.
You might have had a big, you know, blow up with your wife. But
Right.
when you get on stage, yo, I paid $100 for the ticket. I
That's
don't
right.
care about you all arguing,
That's
right? And you're all on stage together, you know.
Man.
Y'all gotta be smiling and everything, you know,
Yeah.
because I just pay. I need to be entertained, right? And so under those type of conditions, you got to perform,
Right.
right? And these folks get trained. You get top of the line training.
Yes.
You know, your job is to be able to tell the difference between me with a hoodie and the person that you're looking for with a hoodie.
Mhm.
You're supposed to know that when you come to my house, that I'm not going to shoot you through my screen door versus somebody who would. That's what you get trained to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we're paying for.
Right.
And it seems like they're not doing what they need to do, or they haven't created mechanisms to keep them extra safe. So if you feel like you're going to get shot at, then fucking figure out what sort of uniform you can wear so that even if, so that when you get shot, you don't get hurt. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? I mean, figure it out. I've been to these conventions where they talked about they have new type of weaponry and things to contain people, to keep people safe. So, true story, I went to Urban Shield. And so they didn't know what I was, the way I was dressed. I had like, you know, some kind of suited that day. So I went there. And I was talking to a guy from East LA. He said they had a new type of weapon. It's like some sort of flash that would disorient you and allow you to be apprehended, you know, without you being able to move or something like that. But anyway, he said that he came from a neighborhood where a lot of people were shot in East LA, and he wanted to stop that from happening.
Right.
This woman cop that was there was talking to him. And then she turns to other cops that are there, and she goes, why the fuck would I want something like that? There ain't no second chances. I want to blow them away. So that was the attitude. Like, I don't want this type of weapon. I want the real thing. So this is what you're saying off record. This is how you're thinking. So in other words, the sanctity of life, at least with those folks, you know, her telling the joke and the people laughing, if it was a joke, was like, they don't care about that. We care about that, but you don't care about that. And I think that becomes a problem, you know, and those type of folks, you need to have a test to
Yeah.
find out how they behave under that type of pressure. And if you can't deliver and be laser focused,
Right.
you're out. Me
Right.
and you, we all have pressures that we got to work under, and we got to deliver no matter what. And if we can't, then we're out of a job. So I've done gigs where, you know, my turntable has messed up. I can't be like, yo, my turntable's messed up. You gotta be focused, put a smile on. What do you want to hear next? And play with one turntable till your homie shows up with the second one, or have a backup, or do whatever.
Right.
Your mic has gone out when you performed, you know, or the music ain't working. You know how to do it a cappella. You know how to get to the second mic. You know how to hold it so the audience can sing along until it gets done. Right. So we got to be focused all the time. And, you know, you don't stop in the show and be like, fuck it, the mic ain't working, I'm out of here.
Yeah, and blow it all. Right.
No, we didn't pay $100 to see you do that.
Yeah. So okay. So these are all great points, man. And so what I'm hearing from you is that moving forward, for there to be substantive change, I'm hearing defunding and redirecting funds. I'm hearing there needs to be an independent review or independent DA to look at these things. I'm hearing there has to be punitive measures. You know, I agree with all of those things. Is there anything else that we need to see in terms of policy change going forward so that we can progress, that we can?
We have to weaken the Policeman's Bill of Rights that allows an officer to keep their records secret.
Okay.
So this goes back to accountability measures, and that's been a long, hard-fought battle. Some of it is loosened up, but in some parts of the country, it's still very secretive and very hard to deal with. So we need to know who's on the force and who isn't. You know, we need a Yelp for the police. You know, school. You know, I teach. We get. You know, they have a damn website, right? That they rate all the professors. So, you know, like student, you know, so because you're of service to the students. You
Mm.
come in there, so, yeah, somebody may have an axe to grind and say some fucked up shit, but that's why you get a review from all your students and be
Right.
like, okay,
Right.
1 out of 200 didn't like you. Now, if it's 50 out of 200, we need to talk to you and find out why, because that ain't, there's something else going on. And I think, you want to ideally have somebody who really wants to protect and serve
Mm.
everybody. And you want to have somebody who is a people person, who likes folks and wants to deal with folks and is committed to establishing strong relationships and ties with their entire community.
And
right?
and understands the
community that they're in.
The specific community that they are policing. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and every community is different. There are different norms, Yeah, in some communities,
Understands the nuances. Absolutely. Yes.
yeah, the rule may be no alcohol outside the house, but in some communities, on a hot day like it was yesterday,
Yeah.
people are going to be standing out on their corner drinking brew.
Right.
Yeah, can you enforce it? Sure. Do you want to enforce it? Hey,
Yeah.
you might drive by and say, lyrics, man, just put the thing away, and so I can't see it, and just keep going.
That would definitely be a conversation with me, man. Would have to have a conversation, especially depends on what I'm drinking. KBD, yeah.
So you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Look, when you love the people that you're dealing with, you're going to deal with them in a way that is trying to be a win-win.
Yes.
Versus an us versus them mentality. And right now it's an us versus them mentality. Yeah. And it should not be. Not when you have all these resources. And we're not even talking about TV shows that really act as PR arms for you.
And I think that, as I step back and I look how the culture has changed in America over the past few years, unfortunately, I do feel like we are living in an us versus them society more so than we were 5 or 10 years ago. You know what I mean? I do believe that it's not a culture of we right now or us right now. It's a culture of you versus me or me versus you. And I think that that's really unfortunate right now.
Yeah.
I see those seeds of division have been planted. Maybe they were always there, but I feel like our current leadership has certainly exacerbated those differences. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Still have, when I did a promo for this episode of Mobile Homies, one of the things I said was there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of chaos in the world right now. And Davey D and I are going to try to make some sense of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I have never, ever once heard the leadership at the top say anything close to that. It's been all about deflecting blame or assigning.
Yeah.
Not about the acknowledgement of this collective pain that we are. You know what I mean? And I think that has been one of the most unfortunate byproducts of this current political situation that we're living in. And it's really heartbreaking to me because you see how it's reflected in society as we sort of look to our leaders, and you see how it's trickling down and how it's filtering down. What I am most optimistic about, and I want to leave it on this note, okay? I really want to leave it on this note. What I do feel positive about and what I do feel optimistic about is that I see a sense of solidarity happening, okay? Despite all the differences that we all may have in this country.
Right.
Huge country. It's very, communities are very different throughout this nation, right? But I do see a sense of solidarity happening, particularly a sense of multicultural solidarity happening right now that I don't believe I've seen in my lifetime,
Well, you may very well be seeing it,
yeah.
And that's good. But I would say, and I shouldn't say but, I would say we have to have what I would call intentionality to build bridges. So if me and you are living in the neighborhood, I'm going to be very intentional about keeping bridges built. So maybe, we don't hang out each other, but we're gonna have each other's numbers.
Right.
We're gonna know how to talk to each other. I'm gonna be very intentional about my inclusiveness. Hey, Lyrics, come on in, eat with us, drink with us. You know, I'm being intentional about building bridges. And so when we talk about multiculturalism, we're not talking about tokenism. We're not talking about kumbaya.
Right.
It's like, look, man, I got the Asian homies here, got the brown homies here, got the indigenous homies over here.
Yes.
Look, I need you all to come here once a week so we can play cards and eat together. No, we don't all agree, but we need to have a certain sense of community.
Right.
So when shit goes down, and
Yes.
if you're like, wait a second, that went on? Well, I know Lyrics. Let me give him a call. Lyrics, do you know what's happening over here? Was this your cousin that did this? Oh, yeah, let me go take care of that, right? Versus letting stuff fester
Yeah.
and letting stuff build and letting stuff go to our imagination, because maybe you were acting a certain way,
Right.
but we didn't know the full story.
Mm.
You know, maybe something happened. You lost a loved one. And so, you know, we're thinking like, man, I said hello to him. He didn't say hello back. So fuck that dude. And then next thing you know, it builds up. What, he didn't
Right.
speak to you? No,
Right.
he didn't speak to me because, and then, you know, we come to find out, oh man, we didn't know, you know, you were going through this.
Right.
So I think we have to be very intentional. And part of that intentionality is also committing yourselves to be like, let me just figure out, let me learn a little something about these other people's backgrounds, so I have a little sense of history. So in case somebody else comes in there and goes, you know, in our country of Laos, you know, we believe in dictatorship. And be like, nah, that's not what the homies down the street said. That's not what I read in the documentary.
Yes.
That's not, you know what I mean? So nobody can gaslight you. You have some basic
Right.
knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, or just like, you know, they have some woman that's walking around here, Candace Owens, right? She's sitting up there getting a lot. I didn't even mean to use her name, but she gets paid by these right-wing folks, right? So she's making these speeches to the Black community. I can't support, you know, this George Floyd guy, right? So people might not know. They might think, oh, because culturally, she seems like she's from around the way,
Right.
but what she's talking about ain't right. But when you have enough knowledge, you'd be like, you know what? Because this same person got up there, and this is why I brought her up. She said, yeah, you know, coming from the Black community, we understand that indigenous folks were savages and they were cannibals and they ate each other and boom, boom, boom. So she's saying some crazy shit. Now, if somebody don't know the community well enough, they might be like, yo, is that your girl over there? Is that your people's? Like, nah. So, but if you have enough knowledge, you'd be like, that ain't my people's folks.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we don't roll with you. People would know, like,
yeah.
she ain't part of the tribe.
You're absolutely right, man. And listen, I think what you just said about intentionality and community, those are words to live by. I agree with you 100%, because when we know each other and when we have the intention of getting to know each other, all this shit it evaporates.
Yeah.
Evaporates. And it doesn't matter what you see on the news, and it doesn't matter what you heard somebody said about it. It doesn't matter, because when you have that intention, that sense of purpose in terms of, like, we're going to know each other. We are going to get to know each other. This is a priority for me. You know what I mean? And I think that's what is at least a silver lining in all of this that I'm seeing, is we are getting to know each other in a way that may have been uncomfortable before. You know what I mean?
Right.
We are to know each other in a way that maybe there was some shame there and we couldn't all talk about it for whatever reason. You know what I mean? These are difficult conversations, man, and that we're being forced to have right now. And frankly, I'm by and large, not with everybody, but by and large, I'm impressed by the way that we're handling this as a society. You know what I mean?
Right. But that becomes a threat. That becomes a threat to some people. And that's why I say you got to be intentional.
Right.
See, let's put it this way. We're Bay folks,
mm-hmm.
right? We're Bay people, right? And, you know, even though I'm from New York, I consider myself a Bay person, right? Yeah. And there's certain shared experiences that we have as Bay people, right?
Yeah.
And with the gentrification that's happened, right?
Hmm.
I actually find myself more comfortable in places that actually away from Oakland that you would never expect,
Mm.
right? So I might be in another part of the Bay. I might be in Hercules. I might be in San Ramon or someplace, and they'd be like, "Why are you out there?"
Right.
Because I'm dealing with Bay folks.
Right.
There's a shared experience. There's, do you remember that football game? Do you
Right.
know what I mean? There's a certain, you wrote a whole book about it. You
Yeah.
remember? so
That's,
so
well, yeah, what you're saying, yeah, you're right, and we do live in a place that
that is unique. That
it,
has Bayisms.
yeah, it is right. It is unique, but I look at it as it's taught us a certain set of social skills.
Yes.
That we've been blessed to have, and I agree with that. And listen, man, I'm blessed to have you as a friend, and thank you for doing this on the fly. As always, I mean, the wisdom and the experience that you shared and you blessed us with today, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that too. Let me ask you one question before we go.
Yes,
On the artist tip.
go.
So, are you going to move in and start doing an entire album where you're just singing? Is there going to be a lyrics born singing thing? And are you fighting yourself as an MC versus a singer, like the way Shot G used to get mad at he would have debates in his head about him and Humpty because it was the same person. So
Right. I would say if it helps me get tour insurance, perhaps.
I'm not a rapper. I'm a singer who
Right.
can rap.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you doing this, man. And the two biggest things I got from this are intentionality and community, man. And
There you go.
once again, Davey D, thank you, man. A special IG live episode of Mobile Homies. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all got some of the gems that this man was dropping. It always does. I love
Thank you.
Take care
Thank
of
you.
there, man.
Peace out, man.
Right
Peace
on.
everybody. Bye-bye.